We're live.
We're live.
We are live.
How are you, Facebook?
How are you, Facebook? That's hilarious.
How are you, Damo?
Yeah, I'm great, Pissy. You know what is interesting is this whole new Facebook thing. Oh, here we go. I can pull it up now.
Yep.
There it is. Good. Great. Good. Good. I'll share it. I'm just going to share it with a few people.
Cara Ferguson is watching. Hello, Cara. Do you know Cara, Damo?
No.
Helen Pocock is watching.
Oh, that's great.
Hello, Helen. This is nice. There's a bit of activity on a Wednesday at 2:00. Maybe we should record it an hour earlier. Each week, this is going viral within 30 seconds of jumping on. We haven't even started yet, folks. Wendy Adams. Oh, hello, Wendy. Made it to a live finally. Sending you lots of love, Wendy. Wilma Brantner. Isn't Wilma in the States? Summer Daly.
Yes.
Helen Pocock says, long time no see. Agreed.
Oh, that's all right. I mean, at least you can stay for a bit. Wilma, how's it going over in the US? What's the story? You and Doug.
Wilma says, hey from Doug and I.
Yeah. Fill us in. Have you still got COVID over there?
Let's have a COVID-free chat. Wilma, tell us about the good things happening in the States.
Yeah, exactly. And say hi to Doug. Give him a cuddle for me.
It's good. I'm liking this time. Thank you. I'm doing really well. That's great, Wendy. That is great news. It's
great to hear from Wendy.
All right.
Awesome.
I've already, I think I've come up with a brutal conversation topic, Damo.
All right. Well, jeepers.
All right. No, you'll love it. It's not brutal like you and I won't go tete-a-tete. Vicky Stanford's here. Gee, this is just building. The room is building. Now, Damo, apologies to everyone else. This is really boring.
Yes.
I don't know. My call recorder, I still cannot figure out how to record our calls at the moment.
Okay.
So you are recording. It's all good.
Big surprises, Linda. Big surprises. Linda's asked what's in store today.
Oh, this is going to go wild, Linda. You wait.
Yeah.
You wait.
Wild.
All right. Oh, I can hear feedback.
Uh-oh.
Did you swap speakers? You all right?
Yeah.
No? Okay. We're good now. No, we're good. All right. Okay. Shall we kick it off?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Geez, I'm a bit nervous now bringing up this topic. All right. Here we go. It's going, mate. It's going great. Washington State's doing okay. Doug's had his second COVID vaccine. We need to be able to travel back to the US. Oh, so is he not? They're not in the US. Do explain more. Geez, isn't that a hairy conversation for never an episode on 100 Not Out?
That's right. Never talking about that.
Vaccination, not vacation. COVID vacation. What a great faux pas. All right. All right, we're recording. We're recording, aren't we?
Yep.
Ready to start. Okay. In 3, 2, and 1. Hello and welcome to 100 Not Out, a weekly show dedicated to helping you master the art of aging well. Marcus Pearce here with you for episode 417, 417, 8 years and 1 week to the day. And as always, on every single episode of 100 Not Out, it gives me the warm and fuzzies to shoot down to Melbourne to my brother from another mother, Australia's #1 wellness expert, Dr. Damien Christoph. Hello, legend.
Hello, legend. Great to be here with you as usual, as always. We've had a great chat off air, actually, talking about our 100 Not Out longevity experience coming up in only a couple of weeks' time. And I'll tell you what, I'm pretty excited about it. It's great. That's not what we're going to be talking about today, but just our little chat off air before has me inspired, I have to tell you. And I'm excited. I'm grateful for everybody turning up today for our little chat. And I'm excited too that we're together once more.
Now, just do me a favour. Don't jump the gun and come up here in a couple of weeks, as you say, for the longevity experience, because it's still 8 weeks away. And, come up in a couple of weeks, but there'll be no one here.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be here, but so
Yeah.
yes, great point. This episode proudly brought to you by the 100 Not Out Byron Bay Longevity Experience, May 16 to 22. You can apply at 100notout.com. That's 100notout.com. Any questions, just send an email on the website there. We would be honoured to have you join us for a week in the number one wellness hotspot of Australia and the unofficial blue zone of Australia called Byron Bay.
Yeah.
Now, Damo, I feel like this is new beginnings. We are 8 years and a week old, and a number of deep-seated conversations I feel like need to be had as we go into this, let's call it the second act of our time together on 100 Not Out. I've written down the words accountability, expectation, and this has come up in conversation either with you or others, and I don't know how to say this, but we're all about mastering the art of aging well, and it is all about taking responsibility and accountability for your individual life.
Yes.
But the brutal truth is that most people will not take responsibility for their health or their wealth or their career or their family dynamics or any other area of their life. And it's either you or someone else sharing with me that, the sad truth is that something around between 80 and 90% of people, when told by the health professional what to do and how to do it in order to improve their health, will still not do it. The gluten intolerant will not remove gluten from their diet. The diabetic will not remove sugar. The alcoholic will not stop drinking alcohol. The smoker will not stop smoking. So as we go into the second act of 100 Not Out, I think it is probably the most important conversation we can have as to how we can help, and help is the word.
Yeah.
People listening and people not listening that may listen in the future, create a more accountable and responsible life so that, as corny as it sounds, the rest of their life will become the best of their life.
Well, I think we've got to look at triggers. A lot of people's desire to change is usually brought on by some kind of a trigger. Like what's going to motivate them as a call to action. Last night I was watching a TV show. It's a TV show that we're only just recently now watching. It's called Suits. And in Suits, a guy comes in to sell his company and he says, "Life's short. That's why I'm selling my company." And the characters kind of, talk about it and they go, "I don't understand why you want to sell your company." This guy goes, "Well, look, life's short." He says life's short within the space of like 40 seconds. You kind of get this sense that something shocked him into thinking, well, I've got to really kind of change my lifestyle so that I can live more. I recognised this a couple of years ago, and you know this, Piercy. I've withdrawn myself from a lot of things, so that I'm nowhere near as busy as what I used to be, because I recognised that not only was life short, that your health you only get once. So if you lose your health, it's very hard to gain back, and so it's really important for me to maintain health as much as I possibly can, so that I don't have necessarily a trigger that spurs me to action to be healthy. I actually have the opportunity to stay healthy. So then in this story from last night's TV show, this guy's younger friend who's 47 years old dies from pancreatic cancer. This is a story that people hear. This is almost like a real story. It's not uncommon to hear of a young person dying from something that should not have happened and takes people too early. Another guy that I know was thought to have had a heart attack the other day, who's young, only just turned 60. It's a heart attack, and so all of a sudden that becomes like a big call to action. How do I change my life? One of my best mates, heart attack last year, 46 years old. And so you kind of start to think, what's the trigger for me to be healthy, and not necessarily just change my diet. It's how do I live a healthy life, and how do I bring in healthy behaviors? And it's starting with, I think, what is the easiest one. So you and I talk about what do you do in a longevity space? What do you do in the blue zones? And it could be just sitting down to have dinner with your family and friends and having a conversation. And what you and I discovered and have discovered throughout all of our chats over the last 8 years and 1 week has been that it's not necessarily the diet that you follow. It's how you eat your food, who you're eating your food with, and the stories that you might share at the dinner table. Because you could be doing a keto program that's the healthiest version of food for you, but do that watching the news and it's infuriating you, and all of a sudden you've got a toxic diet, even though you're in ketosis. Or maybe you're a vegan, and you're so angry and so uptight that your friend bought leather shoes, that all of a sudden, you've lost perspective around the reason why you're doing it. Yes, it could be for the animals, but now you're eating food because you're angry at a situation, and that may or may not actually be improving your health and well-being. So I think to take the keys and the secrets of those that have lived a long time is really important. And one of those things would be work out how you're eating, not what you're eating. And then how are you moving, not what you're doing to move. And Ravi was on the other day, and we were talking about whether or not you go and run a marathon, or whether or not you go and do CrossFit, or whether or not you go and swim 3Ks a day, or whatever it is. That's not in line with how people live a long time. The way in which people live a long time is to move, not necessarily to exercise their butts off. So you can, doesn't mean you can't. You shouldn't exercise your butts off, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't stick to a particular type of eating program, but the healthy approach or the longevity approach is not to be so extreme, if that makes sense.
This is huge. I'm so glad we are talking about this, and there are a number of people watching us on Facebook Live at 100 Not Out. Spell it all out if you haven't looked at this on live before. But Damo, I've written down a number of notes that you've said there, and I've circled, or shall I say more accurately, I've rectangled other people. You mentioned other people, and you spoke about dinner and other things, but I wonder if the trigger to poor accountability and breaking the recommendations of health professionals, so to speak, or not following them, is because the relationships that people have with other significant people in their life, whether it's spouse, whether it's colleagues, whether it's children, whether it's siblings, and on a deeper level themselves, if that is almost the number one reason why people aren't owning the fact that life is short, because they are clouded by their relationships with others.
Okay. Yeah, it could be. Do you mean clouded as in like a bad way? Like they?
Well, you just said that, if we were having dinner with people, having conversation rather than watching the news.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to work out is, we'll do a visual of you in practice. So you've got I'll do Sarah actually in the old days. So when Sarah's in practice, she says, righto, Johnny Blogs, when you're not seeing me, I'd like you to do these rehabilitative spinal hygiene exercises to help improve certain element, whatever it is, your shoulder, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now, you could do this with diet, right? It's really important that you go and you eat this certain way. My challenge is, or my curiosity is, if someone's marriage is terrible, they're all alone, they've got no social support network that empowers them, that they are far more likely to defy those recommendations, because every other part of their life outside of their time with you does not support them as a human being. They get told they're not good enough, whether it's at work or at home or in their friendship circles. And so they don't have almost like this self-esteem to go, you know what, folks, life's short. I'm selling my business. I'm ending that marriage. I'm cutting out that crap food, because they haven't quite yet found to go, I'm going to excel at this.
Well, this is the pain point. And we often talk about that. Well, I think LT actually used to talk about the pain point all the time. So he would say, what's your pain point? What's your pain point? What point do you pull the trigger to actually do the things that you need to do to get the results that you're looking for? So in this case, in this situation, do you have to be diagnosed with diabetes before you stop having 3 snakes per snack? Do you have to be diagnosed with heart disease before you start to limit the amount of processed carbohydrates you put in your diet? Do you have to, I don't know, but have failing relationships before you start to communicate? So, what's your pain point? What actually is your trigger to do this. And I think this is very individual, Piercy. But you, I think, being a master of this, kind of conversation and life purpose and having an exceptional life, you might be able to share some examples here or some wisdom as to what are the pain points for people.
Well, you were just reading my mind, because Summer Daly says, "Oh man, this is me all over."
Mm-hmm.
And she also says she's starting to make changes, but she has a long way to go. Hello to Debbie Bunyard. So I attempted to quit smoking, I would say at least 10 times before it worked. And the reason why I say it worked is because the only time I've ever successfully quit smoking is when I had a girlfriend. Her name was Sarah. I was like, I'm going to marry this girl, and she's a chiropractor who eats well, moves well, thinks well, and is repulsed by the smell of cigarettes.
So repulsed.
Coming into the bed after a night, at work and the rest. And it wasn't, and I still remember the conversations going, babe, it's only 3 cigarettes a day. And I'm sure I've told this story many times. Like, babe, stop get off my back. It's like 3 cigarettes a day. It's not like a pack a day. And then she's like, all right, how many? And then she got me at my own game. She's like, well, how many cigarettes a day? How many cigarettes a year is 3 cigarettes a day? And I was like, I did my best Bruce McAvaney, and I was like, right, let's do the stats. 3 a day. Let's just say there's 300 odd days a year. That's 1,000 cigarettes a year. That's 10,000 cigarettes a decade. Now, what's your 3 cigarette per day habit like? And then I was like, okay, well, 10,000 cigarettes, is that going to make my children, if I'm going to get married and have children with Sarah, are the kids going to be healthier or less healthy with that? What impact would that have on me as a dad? What I'm saying here is that sometimes, and even for me, I'm a very selfish Leo firstborn male. I was like, I could not quit smoking for me. I struggled to quit smoking for me. When the accountability was put in the reference of someone else that I cared for a lot, my girlfriend, future wife, future potential children, it became a lot easier, like a truckload easier to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that whenever we're interviewing people and the rest, I still remember like Heather Lee started walking fast because her husband said on his deathbed, now it's time to show your mettle. Dexter Kruger, Australia's oldest human being at 111, only started writing when his wife died. It's because his wife died. He wasn't writing when his wife was alive. It was kind of like a way to kind of honor the marriage and honor the gratitude he had for his marriage, to go, you told me to make something of my life whilst you weren't here. So I still feel like accountability, as much as it is for us, and change, like long-term change, still has a massive effect, or it's more likely to happen when it's not just about us, when it's beyond us as an individual.
Yes, I agree. However, I'm going to say and however, because it's not however only, it's and however, because I agree. But also, some people want to excel at something, and it's not until they're ready to recognize what it is that they need to do to achieve whatever that's going to be, that they make those decisions. So I'm aware of people that want to improve their golf game, for example. They put up with pain, so they take their Nurofen or paracetamol or whatever it is. They get a little bit overweight. They're not swinging through with the club as well as what they should. And it's not until they realize that they can't get any better that they go, I better make a change. And then it's pointed out to them that this is what they've got to do to make the change. And then they do. So sometimes it's that people don't know what it is that they've got to do. Yes, the information's out there. But like Pete says, it's the motivation. So Pete says here, the motivation of not losing Sarah, or the motivation of not having sick children, or the motivation, it wasn't a financial thing for you because that wasn't a consideration.
No, cigarettes
right?
were cheap back then, mate. $5 a packet.
Oh, no, you can smoke.
Benson Hedges extra mild.
Oh, yeah, $20 for 48. I don't know. Wouldn't have a clue. But it's so it's what is your trigger? Like, what is it that you're trying to get better at? Like, are you trying to get better at being healthy? Are you trying to get better at living long? Are you trying to get better at having better bowel motions? I had to get poo in there. Are you wanting to get better at golf? What is it that you wanted to get better at? Because that could in fact be the driver. For me, and I'll share this with you and everybody. For me, when you pointed out to me that I was so scared to turn 40, and we should do a podcast, it became for me about understanding what was important to do that would enable me to live a long time. Does that mean that I still have fear around premature mortality? And the answer is yes. So, but that isn't necessarily what motivates me into action. It's not the fear of dying early. It's that is there anything else that I could do that could enhance my chances of living a long life like my grandfather? So I think more about that necessarily than fear driving me. I kind of go, okay, what else could I be doing? And it's not necessarily, okay, I better be stricter on my diet. It's not necessarily I better be stricter in my exercise. It's like, am I being more mindful about what I'm eating? Am I being mindful enough about how I'm moving? Am I being mindful enough about the conversations that I'm having? Am I being mindful enough about enjoyment of life and smiling and laughing and having conversations? So these are the things that people do who are living a long time. You don't find a grumpy person. Well, you do, because we do know of one person who doesn't want to be old, who just wants to die, doesn't want to live a long time. Like, if I had known I was going to live a long time, I would have killed myself ages ago. But like for us, it's the pursuit of longevity, so yeah.
Who's that person? I don't know who you're talking about.
Remember, there was an interview on ABC, You Can't Ask That, or maybe it was SBS. And,
You can't ask that. I still haven't watched that series.
yeah,
I haven't.
and there was a guy on there. I can't remember who he was, but he had really stinking thinking, like, what's the secret to living a long life? He's like, I wish I didn't know, because it was like, are you happy to live a long life? No, I feel trapped. No. I'd rather be dead. It was that kind of thing. It was funny. That's funny.
Brutal. But sadly, there are too many examples of people that took their own life because they just did not like what the future held in their view. Yeah, not that they could even tell. But they were certain that it wasn't going to be compelling, which is incredible. So you mentioned pain. There's, like you said, there's a pain and pleasure dance here, and I know Pete's termed it, in away from motivation towards from motivation. I always, think of what is the motive for doing something, and I think we're all saying the same thing here. There is very much a personal aspect. You're doing it for you, and then there's also the consequences of that behavior.
Yes.
On others. So I think the golf game example is a perfect example because it seems like a selfish hobby, but it's not, because the person that loves their golf game comes back as a happier person to be around, even if they've had a tough game. Sometimes you do this podcast after a bad round.
That's true. But true.
You're still happy, at least on the podcast.
Yeah. What a great thing to be able to do. Like, imagine you get a chance to do something that you love 2 or 3 times a week. Whether it be going to CrossFit, whether it be swimming, whether it be cooking a meal for your friends or your family, whether it be catching up with a friend, have a coffee with, and sit around and tell some stories and laugh. Like, if everything that you did every single day was a punish, like, it's going to be harder to live a long time. If you're doing the things that you enjoy, and you can also improve at them or do a better job with them or engage better people with them, whatever it is, isn't that more of a joy? Isn't that a great thing? I think so.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot to take in here. I think for people listening or watching, definitely consider if you're driven by pain or pleasure. I think we have to acknowledge that many people are driven by pain. It's the saber-toothed tiger effect that, again, I first heard in chiropractic, and we have to acknowledge that often the pain of something is what triggers us into an action, but it doesn't have to always be that way. And if you can identify areas of your life that you want more pleasure in, then you can take accountability for going towards something that you want. And you don't need to have a stick behind you beating you to kind of make it happen.
Yeah.
But don't also be hard on yourself if there are areas of your life that, subconsciously you actually do wait for pain to occur before you take action. And there can't be everything in your life where you are so proactive in front of, you've got it sorted. There are going to be 1 or 2 areas, and maybe more, where you are waiting for something to happen. And I don't think we necessarily have to go and shift it. But we just have to be, I think, mindful of the consequences. I think that's the brutal side of it here. It's our responsibility. If the SHIT hits the fan, I've said this before, I put my hand up, like I'm not moving enough at this stage of my life. I just know it. But I also know that part of me is going, but right now at this stage of life, it's actually I'm doing well enough, and it's not the best belief. But then there's other areas of my life where I'm way more proactive, way more responsible, way more whatever it is. But knowing that's the case, I think is that's where it's responsibility, because it's not like we can point the finger and go, oh, this happened to me because of something else someone else didn't do. No, it all comes down to us. And I feel like that's where a lot of us kind of miss the memo. We're still pointing the finger out rather than going, it's all on me.
Yes, and I would also like to add to that, it's not good or bad that you are moving enough or not. Like, it's not good or bad, it just is. And so I think in achieving longevity, it's the pursuit of being kinder to oneself, as well as thinking of ways in which you can actually improve your being, and rather than your doing. You know, like I don't know who says it, like we're human beings, not human doings. And so, you know, we should be enabling ourselves to feel good about the decisions that we make. And if we make a bad decision, don't punish ourselves over it, because it's just one bad shot. You know what I mean? Like it's a metaphor from a golf perspective. Like if you spray the ball once, that's fine. Like if you have a bad round, that's okay. You're actually going to come back and play golf again. So if you've had one bad round, which is one bad week, or if it's one bad month, it doesn't mean that it's you're wrecked for the rest of your life. If you continue to play bad golf, you're not learning from your lessons. If you continue to eat bad food, you're not learning from your lessons. If you continue to be sedentary, then you're not learning from the lessons. So think about ways in which you can do it, but don't punish yourself for it, for not making it.
Sage advice. I'm telling you, that's why you're older and wiser than I am. It's wisdom.
That's watching young blokes like you get job done that I go, oh, that's pretty good, PC. I like that. I like that.
This has been a fun episode, Damo. I'm glad we hit the ground running in what I'm loosely calling Act 2 of our time together on 100 Not Out. 8 years and 1 week to the day. If our listeners and viewers want more conversations like this, you are warmly invited to join us in Byron Bay for our 2021 100 Not Out longevity experience. It is May 16 to 22. All the details and the application is over at 100notout.com.
Yeah. Go there. I'm going to actually type this in the comments, 100notout.com.
Whilst you do that, I would like to tell everyone to go to damiankristof.com for all of the wisdom from Damo. You can get everything you need there for myself, marcuspearce.com.au. And to everyone who makes this podcast possible, particularly our 100 Not Out community, we love you. We thank you. We appreciate your support of our message. And until next week, continue to make the rest of your life the best of your life.
Bye for now.
We're still on Facey?
We're still on Facebook. Thanks, everybody. It's great to see everyone there. TP and Trudy having a little conversation there. That was really nice. And some of your contributions every single week. Thank you. Helen, always great to see you. And Pete, I don't know how you ever get the notifications, but somehow you manage to get in there. You know what I'm always amazed at? Helen is always the first one on. Like, always.
Yeah, she is. Absolutely. Wendy has brought up a really good curly one right at the end.
Oh, yeah?
And I think we would be wise to talk about this on a whole another episode. And I would love to actually interview DeMartini on this only topic. And it is this comment. It does come down to us, but there is still the chance that we can be affected by illness no matter what we do, like what has happened to me. When that happens, you only have positive mindset, is what Wendy said. But I think I would love to talk about that. When something comes out of the blue, you weren't expecting it, it wasn't on the script for your life, it could be confusing, bewildering. You've then got to do all this personal growth to kind of, come to peace with it at some point. It would be it's a wild conversation, that one, I think.
Yeah, it really is. It's that's a tough one. It's got me thinking, Wendy. Like, it's really got me thinking. There's so many things that people do. Yeah, that's very fascinating. When you get struck down with an illness, that seems unfair.
Yes. Yep. You said it perfectly. How do we come back from that? You know, if DiMartini was here, you know, how do you turn your setbacks into comebacks?
Yes.
But that conversation, I think would be wonderful to have.
You know, in much of what I'm saying here, in much of what I've suggested and spoken about in here, it's about the lifestyle. It's the lifestyle modifiable diseases that I generally think about in this regard. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm talking about lifestyle modification.
You're talking about the diseases of affluence, the diabetes, like everything that is non-infectious.
Yes.
Like diabetes is not an infectious disease. You can't catch it from someone.
No, but even like an autoimmune disease, right? Which is generally not like as much as we can, you know, point the finger at say gluten, or we can point the finger at other chemicals that get put into our body, you know, injected or whatever else. Like we can point the finger at those things around autoimmunity, but still, that's not modifiable necessarily. Like it's once that sort of thing's triggered, then it's a big effort to kind of get all that sort of stuff done. So there's a mindset piece, there's a food piece, there's a movement piece, there's a relaxation piece, there's a mindfulness piece. There's lots to that, like to kind of get that under control. But I was speaking to a lady today whose mother was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease at the age of 46 or 47 years old, and she's 60 years old at the moment. And so that's really young to be diagnosed with a unfair disease. Like that's an unfair disease, in my opinion, right? So, so I think about that, and she's lived a long time. So then, okay, is there an expectation? Do we put an unhealthy expectation on our longevity, as opposed to the quality of our life? So the saying or the phrase that we end our podcast with is "Make the rest of your life the best of your life." Does that necessarily have to be the next 50 years if we've only got 5 to go?
No, it's that's like Tuesdays with Maury, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, it's like if you get MND and you're in bed for the next 12 months.
Yes.
You know, how do you do what Maury did and still make those 12 months some of the most rewarding times in your life? It's a big conversation. I've just written down a couple of other guests that whole mind body. Yeah. It's a massive conversations there, you know, even like, anyway, it's a massive conversation.
It's massive. You might have to trim this podcast and just add a few little bits and pieces back in there, I think.
Oh,
or maybe this is just exclusive content for those people who came on the Facebook, you know, chat. So thank you.
Yep. There's a lot in there. Okay. You and I need to go to respective 3:00 appointments.
Yes. Thanks, everybody.
So we will bid farewell to Facebook. Thank you guys for your love and support.
Yes, thank you very much. And can you tell Doug, Wilma, that I have no idea what even the America's Cup is? Don't even know.
It's a boat race. You're pushing these buttons.
Don't even know. I won't be watching it because Australia's not in it. So it'll just be... Isn't it just New Zealand versus America these days?
Yeah, it is. But you're not serious that you don't know what it is, eh? You're just being cheeky. Tell me you're being cheeky.
I'm just being cheeky.
Oh, thank God.
But I would go for the Kiwis in a heartbeat.
Yes.
In a heartbeat. Not because I don't like America, but because I love New Zealand.
Damo goes for Kiwis before Australians sometimes.
No, I don't. That is not true. That is absolutely not true. I vote for Australia every single time there is anything, just unless Australia's not playing, I'll barrack for the Kiwis. And then whoever else, you know, we'll see. Oh, Nettie. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, great to see you there, Nettie. Oh,
Kiwis versus Italy? Oh, my gosh, it's not even America.
Wow, Italy has boats? Wow, there we go. Just joking.
Oh, very funny. Good work.
Oh, I just want to give Jeanette Mercury a bloody big hug. Nice to see you, Nettie, and you too, Doug and Wilma. I'll touch base with everybody individually. Yep. Anyway.
All right. Love and hugs to everybody.
Take care. See you guys.